This podcast contains explicit language.
Bafangu!
Houston, flight is go.
Myla, let's go. SPM, safety contact.
From Assignment X, thesoniashow.com, and Amalgamated Storytelling, this is the Dorking Out Show, the podcast for people who love stories from movies, TV, books, podcasts, and everywhere else.
Welcome to episode 115 of Dorking Out. This is the Paprika is Your Name edition. My name is Sonia Mansfield. My usual co-host, Christopher Allan Smith, is on assignment, which is my code word for rehab. So filling in for him this week is my handsome husband and co-host of the other podcast I do, Old Movies, New Beer, David Tracy.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah,
And just like Old Movies, New Beer, we're drinking a beer tonight.
we are.
But unlike Old Movies, New Beer, we're talking about a couple of movies that are actually relatively recent.
Recent movies and kind of a topic I don't think you guys have talked about on Dorking Out, huh?
Not very much. So we're going to do some anime movies.
I know. That's called dorking out.
Dorking, some deep dorking out.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Your Name, which came out in 2016, and Paprika, which came out in 2006.
Yeah.
And
10-year difference.
yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So cheers. Well,
Cheers.
Do you want to say what we're drinking first?
We're drinking Leaping Lemur, which is a brown ale from Liberty Brewing in San Francisco, California.
From Anchor's.
I think they're called Anchor Brewing.
Yeah.
And then Anchor's, what did I say?
You said Liberty.
Oh, Liberty Brewing?
That's what you said. I was like, oh,
I
how
haven't
many
even-
did you have?
I know, I haven't even taken my first sip yet.
Yeah.
Here, cheers.
Cheers.
Sorry, Anchor Brewing. It's one of those things, huh? It's that kind of party.
It's going to be that kind of show.
They opened a tap room at Anchor Brewing, and they brew stuff specifically for it. And so we got a growler of this stuff because they don't bottle it.
Right. It's a really good one.
So if you
We
come
did
to
we did a little
SF, you got to go there.
we did a little beer crawl today. Beer brewery tour. And we went to the Anchor Steam tap room, and we went to Harmonic.
Harmonic Brewing, yep.
Yeah, which was very good too.
So this brown ale is a beer that you can't have that we're drinking, and you have to come here to drink it. So come here.
That's really selfish of us.
Come on. Come to San Francisco.
I'm sure that everybody knows about Anchor Steam, but
That's
it
true.
is a really awesome brewery. And David you were telling me today about an article you read where they listed like the most influential craft beers.
Yes, and they're in the list. They're the only brewery that's mentioned more than once, and they're mentioned 4 times because they brought back the first porter since Prohibition. They introduced the IPA or something crazy with Liberty Ale in the early 70s,
Right?
Or some crazy thing. And then what else? Oh, the holiday beer, and then what was porter. Oh, and Anchor Steam,
Yeah.
of course, Anchor Steam. So there you have it.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong with any of them.
You know what also is funny? They're owned by Sapporo. So we got a Japanese tie-in for
Good job, David.
talking about anime.
Oh my gosh. Cheers again to that. You are so good at this.
Arigato.
You've actually been to Japan.
Hey, I have been to Japan. That's about all I remember.
That's it. That's the
Yep.
only Japanese you speak.
With that, on biru kudasai onegashimasu. Hey, which is, give me a beer, please. Yes. Give me beer, please. Beer me.
You're so funny.
Yeah, so anime. Have you?
Yeah.
What have you guys talked about on Dorking Out about
We
anime? at
really hardly have talked about it at all. I don't think we've talked about it that much. I know that you and I were talking about doing this episode, and I was saying that it might be fun to do because I actually don't know a lot about anime. You know more than I do. But I think when people think about anime, they think it's all the same. They either think it's all like Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, or they think it's just Miyazaki movies.
Yeah.
And I think anime is just like any other genre in that it has subgenres. Like when people think horror movies, they think of like they're just slasher movies, but that's not true. Like you could have a horror movie that's a comedy. You could have a horror movie that's, you know, more of a psychological drama. You could have, you could have almost like a romantic horror movie. Like you could have all these things, and anime has that too. They're not just all video gamey with weird maid fetishes.
Yeah. Well, I got into anime because I'm as you know, I'm a huge animation buff anyway. And for whatever reason, they don't have that association with animation being like just for kids or just Warner Brothers or just Disney princesses there. There's always been a maturity to Japanese animation, and they've always kind of done stories that were 100% not for kids.
Right.
And they've kind of like just explored filmmaking with animation, I feel, more than the U.S. has.
For sure.
Like the most mature we get with animation is when like, you know, Pixar does something that obviously has like a pulls at your heartstrings moment that's supposed to appeal to like an adult or something like that. But that's kind of the
I guess that's
of,
true.
like,
what we get
really
like
exploring
like
it.
heavy metal.
Yeah, we get
Right?
heavy metal.
I'm like, are there other ones?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Which is,
But even that was geared towards kids, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they.
Not really.
Why is it? Do you think that they don't explore more adult themes in animation here in this country? Why is it so like animated movies equals kids movie?
Walt Disney.
Just because of that?
Just because of Walt Disney. Because it was just such a... It was fairy tales animated, and it was such a huge cultural steamroller that it just became ingrained. Like that's what you associated animation with. Either with that or with the little 7-minute short before a movie. Like
Right.
that's kind of the extent of it.
Well, it's weird though, because TV doesn't have that.
No.
TV animation doesn't mean kids. I think maybe it used to, but South Park, Family Guy, Rick and Morty.
Simpsons
adult.
too.
Well, the Simpsons too, yeah. But I think the Simpsons might work for kids too.
Yeah. There's
But I mean, everything on Adult Swim or Beavis and Butthead, Daria, all that stuff. Like, those are all for teenagers and up.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's an easier one to experiment with than it is for doing a feature film. I don't know. People have tried. Studios have tried to kind of break the Disney mold, but when you're putting that much time into an animation, they've always been a little conservative, I think.
Right.
But these two movies are very much not like a Disney film.
No, not at all. Before we start getting into them, can I ask, like, what was the first anime movie you saw?
First anime film was probably Akira. Mm-hmm. Probably Akira.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
That's the first one I remember people talking about.
Yeah. It's kind of the first one that kind of made it in the U.S.
Yeah.
And someone I actually used to work with, amazing guy, he got into Japanese animation at a time where he was actually getting laser discs from Japan and doing the translations himself. Mm-hmm. Like, it used to be like if you were interested in Japanese animation, you had to really pursue it to be able to find it. You had to know someone that was like going to Japan, and you had to find someone that could like bring stuff back and
and now it's so
translate it.
It's so accessible. 88 it says here.
Yeah.
That's when that came out. Because I remember like hanging out with Smith actually and our other friend Aaron and going to like Tower Video, and they had like an anime an anime section, and being like, what is this? And Akira was one that I was like, this sounds familiar. I've heard of this. Like maybe even like Ebert had mentioned it or something, and that's how it would have been on my radar. And we rented it.
Yeah, like this one, Ghost in the Shell was a huge one.
Yeah.
That's early. That's 90s or late night, like 98 or something like that.
Yeah. And we watched Ghost in the Shell last year, you and I, because I went and saw the terrible live action movie.
Which I didn't see.
No, because you're smart and I'm dumb.
You had to see it for the show, right? You saw it.
Yeah, I
for
saw
Dorking
it
Out,
for the
though.
show.
There you
And
go.
then I came back and said that was not very good, and you said the anime one is really good. Mm-hmm. So we watched that, and you were right. That was quite good.
Well, and the graphic novel, the manga that it was based on is really good too. Yeah, there's a lot of good, and also we also associate like what was it, Speed Racer? Like that was my first probably.
No, that's true. That's
anime
probably
was probably Speed Racer. The lion. What was the little lion? Simba.
Yeah, Kimba.
The little white lion. Mm-hmm. Battle. What was it? Battle of the Planets.
Battle of the Planets. Oh my god!
Where they had like the bird suits and they had the crazy space. The spaceships look like
I love you
submarines
so,
and battleships.
I love you so much right now for bringing up Battle of the Planets. Battle of the Planets was my fucking favorite.
It was a great show. I loved
when
it.
I was a kid. Like, I loved it. And I remember actively trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. And I think it was reissued as, like, G-Force or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? But I remember it as Battle of the Planets. And there was, like, a thing where they kind of reveal, like, some things about the villain. And I was like, like, it just blew my mind. It was, like, for kids, but not for kids. And I couldn't comprehend that because before that, everything was Looney Tunes and Disney.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, God, I love that one.
And these are the shows you had to watch on like.
That.
These are ones that if I remember, like you had to find these on like a UHF channel. Like you couldn't. This wasn't on any regular old Saturday morning.
Yeah, no,
lineup.
this wasn't.
You had to kind of seek these out on like an independent channel. Or like UHF or, you know, something funky.
This was one that was on after school, but it was...
Like TV20 or
It totally
44.
was TV20. It was absolutely TV20. Like TV20 was kind of...
That's the
one
Bay
of our,
Area.
like, yeah, like the Bay Area station that is kind of...
Coffee, KFY.
Yeah, shows... they show old movies and they do something called like... TV20 coffee dance party. And back in the day they'd play like 50s music and people would wear like 50s outfits and dance.
All these funny adults wearing clothes like they're teenagers.
Yeah, and you're like, what a bunch of stupid assholes. And now like they play.
Now they're doing 80s. And it's now people our age
they're
doing the exact thing.
I know, like our
thing.
friends are on it and we're like, that's awesome. And but if you like really think about it, we're old.
Yeah, I guess we're old.
But
it's
anyway,
true.
should we talk about which one of these should we talk about first?
Let's do it in chronological order.
You want to talk about Paprika first?
Yeah.
Because
that was the one.
I should say you picked both of these, and this is
did.
Paprika you've been wanting to show me for a long time.
It's
and
true.
we finally sat down and watched it.
It's one of the first Blu-rays I ever bought was Paprika.
I wrote down like a little summary, but maybe if you want to say I could say what it's about. Just I don't want to ruin things for people and like give away too much. But it's about a device called the DC Mini.
That's right.
Which doctors use to see into their patients' dreams. And this one doctor, Dr. Chiba, uses this like dream persona that she calls Paprika. And I actually wrote down, she's a literal, actual manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah, manic pixie dream girl.
Mm-hmm. She starts using it outside the hospital and the device is stolen. And then reality and dreams begin to merge, kind of Inception style. But this movie came out 4 years before Inception.
Yeah. I was wondering how you're going to summarize that in a brief thing because the story is pretty...
Yeah, I don't want to give more away than that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like part of the fun of seeing... Well, and this is just true when I see like independent movies or foreign movies in general is I haven't seen trailers that ruin everything for me. So like going into Paprika and Your Name, like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know what kind of movies they are. And I think that adds to the enjoyment. So I don't want to spoil that for others.
How did I describe it to you? It was like
You s-
Amelie meets Matrix or something
That's
like
exactly that's exactly how you described it. I was like, those are definitely not two things that go together. I'll watch this.
that. So yeah, what's funny about it is I've seen the film a bunch of times now, and I still like notice things I didn't know
Yeah.
before.
Well,
And it's a dense movie for starters.
There's so much to look at.
There's
in
no
this
way you'll
movie.
watch it and you'll get it.
Yeah. Like I don't
it's
that's
all
like a
over the
little
place.
summary I wrote down trying to like I don't think I've summarized the movie
There's
at
stuff I
all.
still don't understand in it.
For sure.
'Cause
There's a ton in it that I didn't get. There's a ton to look at. I think that you'll notice something new and different every time you watch it. It's visually, like, I think you said dense is a good word for it.
Yeah.
About halfway through the movie, I said to you, did Christopher Nolan see this movie? Because it was so Inception to me. It's like Inception before Inception. And then afterwards, you actually found this really great YouTube video showing the style of editing that they use in this movie.
Yeah, his use of jump cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely. I recommend watching that after you see Paprika. Go to YouTube and look up
Like Paprika, Christopher Nolan.
or
or
just
something.
Paprika editing. Just do like a YouTube search for Paprika editing, and you'll see a whole thing about what's his name, Satoshi Kon, about his style. But all right, so I've seen it. I already know I'm going to gush about it a little bit. But what was your? Did you like it? It's a pretty anime.
No, I
film.
really liked it. Like, I think it's got a really interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
I think the characters are really interesting, and it doesn't go where you think it's going to go, and people don't do the things I think they're going to do. I loved looking at it.
Yeah.
There is some, like... The movie's obviously influenced by Hollywood movies. So there's, like, these scenes in it where I'm like, oh, that's from Roman Holiday, or, you know, something like that. So I like that as someone who likes movies.
There's a good Shining little thing from
Right.
The Shining in there too.
Like, there's just stuff like that that I really liked. It's also creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's creepy.
The movie is creepy. There's some very disturbing imagery where I'm like, that's weird, or like there was something once again, I don't want to give things away for people, but there was a part in the movie where like I actually did this like weird like nervous laugh thing because I didn't
creepy.
know how to feel. Like the guy like puts his hand on a woman's
Abdomen.
area.
Yeah.
We could swear here, but you know, and I'm like, because it like the hand kind of sinks in,
Like
it's
like literally like into her body.
yeah, like because it's like a weird dream or whatever, you know, and it was just really creepy, and it invoked this reaction that I wasn't really expecting to have. And I was like, like,
He has some he does a lot of like, he had like lots of very mature stuff, and it's not like there's no like blatant gore or anything like that. It's just there's some it's just mature themes, and there's a lot of it's impressive how he can create such psychological tension and you're watching a cartoon.
Right.
Like there'll be moments when like they'll be in one sequence and then all these dolls' heads start buzzing around intermittently. And then you have like a parts where like the audio, as they go into this thing, you start hearing this like kind of this dull hum sound that kind of slowly goes up as the character's exploring the scene. Like he does a lot of really good and you're like, but at the same time, like you're watching a cartoon.
Yeah.
But
if you have a creepy fear of
dolls,
this is not the movie for you.
Yeah.
Because I actually think dolls are kind of creepy, so I think this, like, it reminds me of that house we stayed in.
Yeah, we stayed at a house in for a wedding once.
Yeah, up in wine country, and it had all kinds of creepy dolls in it.
Yeah. The
They're watching you. Watching you.
The other thing I like about the movie is how it's, I don't know. I mean, it's just so visually creative. Mm-hmm. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, this guy gets so creative with I mean, Miyazaki's the same way. Like,
right.
he'll do like some scenes, and you're just kind of blown away by the visuals and the creativity. And like with this movie, because you're dealing with this clashing of reality and dreams and everything like that, like it is literally all over the place. Like, you really sometimes you don't know where you are even.
How do you think this is? How would you describe this compared to a Miyazaki movie? Because I feel like Miyazaki movies are always, they're also kind of dreamlike, but they're never based in any kind of reality, really. Like, the world, I feel like the worlds are always like kind of a fantastical place.
Miyazaki's got so many of his characters are like, you know, like fourth grade females. Like, right. It's like always from like it's more of a
from a younger point of view,
kind of a younger, kind of a beautiful fantasy fairy tale with like a weird kind of mixing of decades. Like, there'll be ones where it's a witch, but the world looks like it's some weird random European country at another place in time, but then you see steam engines and giant dirigibles.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm saying, like, this movie is almost like it's supposed to be based in a reality.
Yeah,
like a real world, but they have created this crazy device.
Yeah, Paprika's like a real world thing, and Miyazaki is like a except for Ponyo. But I mean, Miyazaki's just got this, I don't know, just a friendlier, imaginative love of and respect for like the earth and spirits.
Friendlier is a good way to describe it.
And Paprika is adult, and it asks, you know, like philosophical questions. I think some of the anime, they actually kind of explore like what do you call it? Ghost in the Shell is about the soul and the soul, and relates to robots and all this other kind of weird stuff. Like, everyone kind of deals with, it's like they try to answer these questions or ask these questions or make you think or whatever. And Paprika just explores like, hey, is it really a good idea if someone could get into your dream and as a means of therapy or something like that to try and help you? And then
I think we all know what the answer is.
Can someone get in there and really mess with you, mess with your head? Literally.
I don't think you'll like the answer.
Yeah. But no, I'm glad you liked it, because I don't know. It's a weird film. And the parade is cool.
The parade is cool. You mentioned something about the director to me.
Mm-hmm.
He only made a couple of movies.
Maybe like 4 or 5, I think. He did Millennium Actress, Perfect Blue. He did a really good movie called Tokyo Godfathers, which I recommend, which is about three homeless people that come across a baby and take care of this, try to raise this little orphan baby.
Is it going to make me cry?
Pretty much. It's another one that's like an adult story, a mature story, but it's really good. It's really, really good. But like one of, I think...
Oh my God, Perfect Blue is an animated psychological thriller.
Yeah, no, it's...
So that means it's... By the way, psychological thriller really just means horror, right? So is it basically a horror movie?
I think someone's stalking her and trying to kill her.
That sounds like a horror movie to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we should watch that.
So here's the bummer. A lot of those movies are really hard to watch now. They haven't really made it. They've been out of print for a while. You might be able to find a DVD of them or something like that. But
Paprika.
And the other thing with some of these is I really think it's worth it to watch it in Japanese with subtitles if you can.
So
I think it makes a huge difference.
So you said he died, yeah?
He died, 46 years old, pancreatic cancer.
That's awful.
It is.
Fuck cancer.
Yes. And he was really private about it. So when he did pass away, it was considered a shock to a lot of people because he's had a really, really big fan base, obviously.
Right.
Just because his stuff was just so creative. And you can tell when you watch Paprika that this is a guy that not only loves film but studies film. There's so many like films within a film and like camera references and you know how you shoot a film references in it. And you can tell that this guy like studied filmmaking, played with filmmaking, and it was really experimental when, especially with Paprika,
Right.
and how he would tell a story. So it's worth it, I think. Even if you don't like it, I almost feel like it's worth it to watch it just to see how this guy tells a story through film.
Yeah. In the thing I'm looking at right now, they say that some of his influences are City of Lost Children, which is pretty cool. And then they say the works of Terry Gilliam, particularly Time Bandits, which I saw
like a lot, don't you?
a million times when I was a kid. Like, I super loved Time Bandits. I haven't watched it.
I think I liked Brazil, too. Does it mention Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil and the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. I could totally see that.
It's
and
funny.
Of course, everyone loves Kurosawa. That's on his list, too.
Akira Kurosawa, yeah. So no wonder I liked the guy because he was influenced by a lot of things that I really like.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, if you want to watch Paprika, it's like dirto cheapo. I think the Blu-ray is like $9 or something crazy. It's not like a hugely popular thing. I mean, it's popular, but it's not like
it was funny.
Spirited Away or anything.
You described it like, you know, Amelie meets the Matrix or something. But I also think there's a film noir feeling to it.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I can see that.
That maybe because there is a detective character, a cop character.
Yeah.
Who's tied up in all of this, and I don't know, something about it. If you look at it from his story arc, it's almost film noirish with Dr. Chiba being the femme fatale.
And there's
but she isn't. But I mean, kind of.
And there is humor in it, and there is romance in it, and there is it's not just like you're watching a psycho trip or anything like that. Like I think the characters are pretty good, and there's a couple parts where I think it was really funny actually. So
it's a really good movie. I was glad to watch it.
And the music gets stuck in your head too. It's very weird electronica.
It does.
So good, yay!
Yay!
Glad you like it.
Good pick.
Thank you.
Should we talk about Your Name, which we just finished watching for the second time?
Yeah, like literally minutes ago before recording this.
This is came out in 2016, and it's kind of a sci-fi love story, written and directed by. You want to pronounce that for me?
Oh, I can't. But Makoto Shinkai.
Oh, see? That's good. And it's about two high schoolers who've never met, live in different towns, and they swap bodies.
Yeah.
Pretty intermittently.
Yeah, that's all you want to say about that.
That's all you want to say about that. I don't want to give anything else away.
I know, that's the thing. Talking about this movie, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's...
Because I don't want to do spoilers on this one.
No.
It's too recent. Even though it's been a couple years, though, I think it's worth it to see it. And it's worth it to not go into too much detail in the plot because I feel like I'd really be ruining it for people.
Right. This is one that I recommended to you.
Yeah, because you'd read about it being so popular.
I read like some article, and it just kind of casually mentioned this movie called Your Name, and it's insanely popular in Japan. It's the fourth highest grossing movie ever there.
It's the highest grossing anime film in history.
Yeah. Like, it's just...
It surpassed
so I was like,
Miyazaki.
That must... And they, kind of described it as this sci-fi love story. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. I bet David knows about it. And I mentioned it to you, and you're like, I don't even know what that is. And so when it came out, we immediately watched it, and we really fell in love with it.
Yeah, I remember when actually we were going to try and see it in the theaters here because it actually did get some distribution.
Yeah, it did play at a theater here, but it only played for like a week, and we missed it. It was a bummer. I would have loved to have seen it on the big screen because it is very, very beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And it's just another one where the love story's really sweet.
Yeah.
And feels really natural and organic. And even though it's in this really crazy circumstance.
Yeah.
Like,
it's an anime romance, and you think, well, that sounds like something for kids. But it's for not, but it's really, really good.
I wouldn't even say, though, that a kid couldn't watch this movie.
I don't know, a kid could, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like mature.
Yeah, it's not like Paprika.
No.
I would say this movie's for like 10 and up, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. I think so. This is one also where, talk about beautiful, like the way they do, the way that they show the country and the way that they show like sunlight and the way that they show the city and how fast moving sped up film of like the sun rising and like the city and like sunlight and then getting dark or everything like that. It's just lots of little detailed things that are on the screen for just seconds, and then if you freeze it, it's like, this is a gorgeous painting that this person did for almost no screen time at all. Like there's a lot of really, in this film, there's a lot of really good shots of little details that resonate throughout the whole movie and just add a lot to the story. I really thought about that upon watching it a second time. Like there's a lot of really, really good, subtle stuff.
Yeah. Watching it this time, I kept thinking, I'm not going to cry this time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry this time. And then again at the end, I'm kind of...
It's, yeah, it's a...
Because this is another one it's just so well done. And I think the characters are really great. Even the minor characters. And...
Yeah. Every character is good in it.
You know, it's got a really sweet love story, but it's also really fun. And it's very fantastical.
Yeah. That's true. And I also highly, highly recommend don't watch it streaming. Like, unless you can watch it in Japanese streaming. Like, you really, really
So that was the other thing that we
want to see it.
Yeah, we wanted to mention that. Like,
Yeah,
so the first
huge
time
caveat.
we watched it with the...
English dub.
Yeah, with the English dub. And we super loved the movie. Like, fell in love with the movie. I think
Yeah.
we streamed it.
Yeah.
And then we loved it so much, I bought it for you for your birthday.
That's right.
And so now we own it on Blu-ray. And so we decided to watch with the subtitles this time. And it's much better with the subtitles. And it also comes with the original music that way. I don't know if I think the songs are different.
The songs, so it's the same. It's funny. It's this band called the Rad Wimps.
Yeah.
And they do both. Because the
So
voice
they
acting
do-
is
so they
not
do-
bad in English. The problem is
Yeah.
that the songs, they recorded every song twice. They did it one in English and then one in Japanese. It's the same singer.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's like seeing opera in English. It doesn't... It doesn't work. Like, you can't see Puccini translated into English. It just sounds cheesy and weird. And the way that he sings in English, it's like a little more nasally.
There was
That's
something,
not as-
I just remember watching it the first time and saying to you, like, I didn't like
The music,
the English
the English bits.
songs.
And,
yeah. Like, they took me out of the movie.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to fit,
Yeah.
I guess. So I was so glad when we rewatched it.
Makes a good, yeah. And the voice actors in English were good, but I feel like in Japanese, they're
Yeah.
great. They're great. They're great. You know, it's funny. Like with these films, it just so many of them. They're just dubbed so often, and it's just kind of a.
Yeah.
To me, it's weird. It's like the movie takes place in Japan. They're in Shinjuku Station, so why not just watch them speaking Japanese and have like you would any film? You're not gonna dub a Kurosawa film. You're not gonna dub.
Right.
You could dub old Godzilla films because that's part of the charm because they're terrible dubs.
Right.
But yeah, it's worth it if you can to see both this. I think Paprika too. I feel like the English actually in Paprika is pretty good. In the Miyazaki movies, the Spirited Away English is actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the other ones are terrible. Like Billy Bob Thornton does a voice in Princess Mononoke, and like he's like this old monk, but it's like Billy Bob Thornton being Billy Bob Thornton.
I'm an old monk. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just awkward.
I think it's so funny you bring that up always as the bad example of something. Oh, it's like Billy Bob Thornton as the monk.
The English. I hate the English dub in Princess Mononoke. It's terrible. I think Claire Danes.
Yeah,
is in it.
I think that's right.
And Billy Bob Thornton and who else is weird and out of X-Files? Gillian Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
She's a voice in it. She
does other animated stuff.
No, she's okay with it, and Claire Danes is okay. It's primarily Billy Bob Thornton, and I forget the name of the guy who plays the lead guy in it. But anyway,
you want me to look it up for you?
Nah, it's all right. But yeah, it's worth it to see Your Name in Japanese if you can swing it.
I think this one is.
You might be able to get it streaming in Japanese. Actually,
yeah,
it might be an option.
I feel of the two, this is the one that's more accessible.
Oh, yeah. Paprika is sci-fi.
Yeah.
It is heavy sci-fi.
I mean, this one has got a sci-fi element to it, for sure.
Yeah, it's people in other people's bodies. It's just like All of Me. Right? It's just that. It's just Lily Tomlin and
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, that's all it is.
It's not,
in Japanese.
by the way, it's not really that.
No. But
it does have a sci-fi element to it, but it also has, it's got that love story, and it's got the kind of the idea of the soulmates, and that you're searching for something, and why certain things why they mean to you, what they mean to you, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of people can really relate to that and want that.
Yeah.
So
they
will like this movie. And I was going to ask you, like, why do you think this movie was so insanely popular? But I think I just answered my own question.
I think it's general enough, and I think it's broad enough.
But I think it clicks with. I think everybody wants that, right?
Everybody does, and it broaches the same thing.
It's very romantic.
It broaches the same thing that we like about Field of Dreams in a way. It could so easily get cheesed off by it, but it doesn't do it.
Right.
But yeah, I think it does have a really broad appeal, and it's just so funny that you don't think of animation. And once again, it's a thing that anime does, that they try to tell really, really interesting stories. And I don't even know, I think this one already is, they're going to do a live action, right? Didn't already get the rights to it or something?
I was going to ask you about that, because I did read that they were planning a live action remake with J.J. Abrams as an executive producer. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I read that the screenplay is being written by the same person who wrote Arrival.
Yeah.
And that made me a little bit more interested and hopeful. But I was going to ask you if you do you think a live action remake of this movie could work?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. And I also think there's a lot of it that's really, really
Do you think it would
ingrained.
Be too cheesy?
I just don't know if they could pull it off without it getting too cheesy, but also, like, if they're going to redo it, they're not going to redo it in Japan.
No,
and they're going to change it all up.
Yeah, no, it'll be like...
And so much of this movie is actually based in Japanese culture.
Yeah.
And that's a really kind of a lovely element to the movie.
Right.
So
when they remake this, do you think it'll be like the boy lives in New York City and the girl lives...
Oh, like Sleepless in Seattle? Like someone's in New York and someone's in Seattle living on a boat?
Or something.
I don't know. I'm always worried when they take... It's tough to take animation. Like, can you... Like Paprika. Like, you couldn't do that live action.
Well, they did. It was Inception.
And that proved that you can't do it. that proved it.
People love Inception.
What's funny, though, is like...
There are, by the way, when you go and look online, they will show you side by side, like, scenes that in Paprika that are in Inception. So
Yeah.
I don't know if Christopher Nolan has said anything about Paprika, but it's pretty undeniable when you see those scenes side by side.
What's funny, though, is like the way that he... In Inception, the way that he nests things within things... It's still kind of pretty standard in terms of levels of deeper, whereas Paprika, it's all over the place. It's not just, we're going to go deeper, we're going to go deeper, we're going to go deeper, we're going to go deeper. Okay, now we got to get out of it. We got to go up, 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 up. It's like you're going too far underwater. Whereas in Paprika, sometimes it's it's all over the place. You don't know.
You don't know how deep you are.
You don't know how to, they don't. The characters don't know. Like, there's no, like, intentional, right, now we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's far more interesting that the way that they bend reality and dreams in Paprika than Inception.
So you don't think a live action So do you think...
I never think a live action is going to do it.
So do you think they could do a live action Paprika? I joked about Inception, but... I
don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. But, I mean, who knows? Part of the thing that I love is I'm an animation guy, so I love the drawings and I love the scenery and it's like, can you do a live action Spirited Away? I hope not. I don't think so.
Right.
It's it would be weird to see an adaptation of it live and not make it look super CG or super weird. And that's another thing that's cool about anime. Well, I'm gushing about anime.
Please.
Is they do something with, because I love CG. I work in it. But they do this thing where they mix 2D and 3D in such a creative, seamless way that is so subtle and I don't know, there's something that they just don't do. It's another thing that we don't do here, because everything in the U.S. is all 3D now. Like, there's it's only Pixar, it's only DreamWorks, it's only Blue Sky. Like, it's not gonna, no one's doing 2D anymore. Princess and the Frog is probably the last hurrah for 2D.
Underappreciated movie.
It was a fun movie. Yeah, it was a good movie.
We should do an episode on that.
Yeah. But they're just the way that they combine the two elements, and like, they're still digital to obviously 2D animation. It's not like they use cells and paint or any of that anymore, but the way that they combine the mediums in such a seamless and effective way. Like, for example, there'll be a shot where, like, in Your Name, where one of the characters is waking up on a bed, and the perspective of the bed is just changing so subtle. Like, only the bed is CG. It's still an animated character on the bed, but the perspective change is like you're in a movie, like just the way the camera moves. And it's like the tiny little stuff like that they do that just kind of sell the scene.
It's cinematic.
It is, it's super cinematic movie for sure.
Yeah. I feel like a live action remake of Your Name, I really think it might be too cheesy.
I think it'd be too cheesy too.
I would love for it to be good. I don't want to sound like I'm crapping all over it. I just think it might be too cheesy. But maybe with the right... Arrival's really, really great. It's one of my favorite movies to come out in the last couple years.
Yeah.
So...
I liked Arrival, too. It's funny, too, because the book for Arrival is a short story, and it's so different than the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty different film than the book. Conceptually, it's the same.
It was so funny. I saw Arrival.
Yeah.
And I think you didn't see it with me. We watched it again at home.
Yeah.
But we also saw La La Land, and we super loved that one too. And then it was our anniversary, and you bought me Arrival, and I had bought you La La Land.
Yeah, that's true. That's perfect.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think are some must-see anime movies that are maybe not Miyazaki? Because everyone knows to see My Friend Totoro and Spirited Away and
Kiki's Delivery Service and
all of those.
Howl's Moving Castle. Yeah. Messy anime that's not Miyazaki. Grave of the Fireflies. I don't think that's him. That's a rough one. Did you watch that with me?
No, you told me about that. You watched that when we were first dating, I think. I was like, what'd you do tonight? And you're like, I watched this movie called Grave of the Fireflies, and it's about blank. And I was like, that sounds messed up.
Yeah, it's, two kids, brother and sister.
Go ahead.
Living in Hiroshima, having a good time.
Oh, yeah, that is fun.
Then they have to...
That sounds hilarious. When are they going to make that?
Scramble and try and live and
they're gonna
scrape by.
Remake that live action.
Yeah, really. That's a crazy one. When did that come out? I'm looking that up right now. So that's one. 93. Yeah, I would say Grave of the Fireflies. I would say the one that you saw the live action of, too.
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell is a good one.
What about Akira?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I saw it. That's a violent, weird one with some... Yeah, it's pretty gory. That's a gory one. That's a gory sci-fi. But that's kind of it for me, for TV shows. There's a lot of anime stuff, like TV show stuff. Yeah. That's good. Lodoss War, Steins Gate.
You love to play those anime games, too. Like, you just finished Persona 5.
Yeah,
that's
Persona 5, PS4.
Very anime.
So many settings, so many things in your name, like, they go to different spots. I'm like, oh, I went there in Persona 5. Look at that. I went to that train station. I went to the top of the Tokyo Tower.
You've actually been there.
I've been to Akihabara.
To those, but you don't remember. Do you not think about that? And instead, you're like, oh, I went there in Persona 5.
I think about, like, if I've been there in person, too. But, I mean, it's funny just saying your name and then having finished Persona 5. Yeah, I'm a huge Nintendo person, anime games person.
Yeah.
For sure. JRPG.
I don't know what that means. It's like you're speaking a whole different
Japanese
language to me.
role-playing games. Like Final Fantasy and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you watch a whole bunch of those, like, dirty ones, too?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
What are the... is that what it's called?
No. Is it hentai? Yeah, it's called hentai.
Okay.
This guy I know, Joe and
I,
when we were in college, we rented...
a friend, quote unquote.
No, we both did it. We went to Tower Video at the Tower Records in Concord, California, and rented, because they had
that's where Smith and I rented Akira.
Oh, really? We rented a movie called Legend of the Overfiend, which is a famous hentai movie that's like tentacle porn. It's just flat out uber violent tentacle monster porn. It is over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you bought it.
Oh yeah. Now I got a poster.
Yeah.
Right here above in the kids' room above his bed. You know, he needs to know.
You're a good dad.
Yeah. There's that element to animation
Do you
from
think,
Japan too.
Yeah, that's funny because that's also, I think that's some of what people think of when they think of anime. They
Yeah.
think it's just like for for people, perverts who are into tentacle porn.
there's some teen boy service
Sure.
in Japanese animation for sure. I mean, there's always going to be
There's always like an upskirt shot.
There's always going to be an upskirt shot. You got to animate the boobs. You got to, there's always, what was it? There's one I rented, like when Sonia goes out, I'll go to Netflix and I'll see what's going on, like with the anime. Like I'll watch on Netflix some series or something.
Right.
And there's one I was watching. Do you remember? It was like a zombie high
yeah.
school.
What one was that?
It was like, I don't know. It was like a zombie show, but they're all kids in high school. And it was just so like the story was good. It was a good zombie show, but it was it was like so gratuitous in parts. Like the woman, like she shoots at a zombie, but like she shoots by another female and it shoots like right between her cleavage, and of course the camera is like following the bullet, and then of course the bullet goes like right, through the zombie's head or something ridiculous, or like the zombie explodes and like splatters on them, on the woman in some like sexy way or whatever. Like it was like, it's just, is it High School of the Dead?
Maybe.
I think it's High School of the Dead.
Okay. Good job on me.
It was, yeah.
Good
job.
Googling, Sonia.
Good Googling. Like it's the zombie story and like the kids and how they get out and how they've all the kids kind of become their own kind of superhero power,
right.
And how they, like one kid's kind of the nerdy one, but he ends up being kind of amazing and like gets really into like building weaponry and doing all this crazy stuff. And then there's this other high school student that ends up being like ridiculously amazing, Kill Bill good with a sword, with a katana. And so they all have their own kind of techniques for going through, and there's like really, really sad moments in it too. It's like, I really enjoyed it, but then there's like those shots because all the women are beautiful, of course. Duh. And there's like some shots like, oh God, are you kidding me? Like it's just so like teen boy service. It's like, it actually is. It's too bad because I feel like it's. I mean, maybe for the teen boys it's good, but it undermines.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
it undermines it. Yeah.
It makes it. It cheapens it and makes it feel
Like
dirty.
I'm reluctant to recommend it, even though I actually watched it and enjoyed the zombie bit.
Right.
And I watched it to the end, and then at least to the end
Which,
of whatever
by the way,
was the season, then I don't know where it goes from there because it hasn't come out yet. I don't think.
Tell our listeners, like, it's kind of a big deal that you watch something like that because you don't like things that are like gross or disturbing or. Yeah. It's not like you're like, oh, zombies. Like, that's not your jam. Like,
but they'll do things like Attack on Titan is pretty.
Right.
That's crazy.
David will also bail on a show for like any reason.
Oh yeah, if it's violent or too depressing, I'm done.
Yeah, you have one bad episode, and David's like, I'm just gonna tip on out the door. He is over it.
Yeah, but yet I watched certain things like Death Note got crazy dark.
Did you watch that?
Note
You didn't watch
became
the
my
new
Netflix series that everybody hated.
Yeah, but you didn't watch that.
No, I wanted to finish the cartoon first, and I didn't finish it. That's a dark.
Are you going to finish it?
Story, maybe. It's a dark one. It's someone that can write the name of someone, and then that person dies.
Yeah, pass.
It's really crazy.
Says the girl who watches The Handmaid's Tale. I've got enough dark on my plate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Death Note is kind of a good cat and mouse thing. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I'm rambling.
You're not rambling. You're talking about interesting stuff about anime. But I see our time is almost up, huh? Do you have anything else you want to say about anime?
Not now.
Oh, should we stop and then come back later, or?
No, I don't. I think, as always, like something will come back. I'm sure something will pop up. At some point, we'll do a gushing on Miyazaki crazy.
Absolutely.
We could easily do that.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
We did kind of go on a kick for a while. We were watching all his movies.
Yeah, we watched a bunch of them. And your favorite is Kiki's Delivery Service.
I think that one might be probably because it's so accessible
Yeah.
for me. Like, it is the one that I think has a more, like, the most obvious story to it and character arc, and it's not quite as, what's the word I'm looking for? Artsy as some of the other ones. But I super love the other ones too.
Yeah.
I feel like Kiki's just lighter, I guess.
Oh, it's a lot lighter, for sure.
That's probably why. But those other ones are amazing and beautiful to look at and have crazy stories, and I just can never get over like how inventive they are.
Yeah, for sure.
And I kind of wish Hollywood wanted to do that kind of storytelling with animation and not just make Boss Baby.
That's true. Yeah. It's true.
Like, maybe instead of one of those Minion movies.
Yeah, they make money though, I guess, don't they?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that bums me out about animation in this country, is that so many of the movies that are animated, they're all for kids, but like so many of them are so stupid.
Yeah.
They're so Minions and Boss Baby, and like that stuff just is terrible.
And
By the way, the first Despicable Me is really cute. I don't want to sound like I'm crapping all over Minions, but
we love the
and the Peanuts movie, that's
we
adorable.
Love the Peanuts movie.
Like the Pixar movies are good. Those are good too. It's just,
and you love the rabbit one and the fox. Disney, she's a cop. Meet her maid.
Zootopia.
Yeah, we like Zootopia.
I thought you were talking about Peter Rabbit. I was
No.
like, I didn't see Peter Rabbit. What are you talking about?
Like we love Zootopia, and we love. There's a lot of Pixar movies we certainly love.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're like anti. Just for whatever reason, for fear or cost or whatever, it's not as inventive a medium here as it could be.
Right.
And that's, to me, a shame, because you can't... Animation gives you license to completely mess with everything visually and everything. I mean, it's such an open thing that you can get away with. And it's just a shame that for whatever reason, it's not really being... And it's, maybe that stuff wouldn't really make a lot of money. Maybe it would be too much of a risk, but...
But they are doing stuff like that with like that version of the Jungle Book they did, or
yeah, that's not an animated.
But it's all computer, I guess. But it's not animated.
To me, that's. I mean, not to discount it, but that's live action VFX.
Right.
That's really good visual effects.
Right.
But I mean, like something where like everything on the screen is like the whole thing is an animated story.
Yeah.
So more in the veins of like Pixar. Like there'll be a shot like Coco. Like we both liked Coco. And they have this really good shot where they, he first kind of passes over and sees like the city of the dead or the other side. But even they sold it short, because even before the movie starts, they talk about this amazing scene that you're about to watch in the movie. Like
they take the power from it.
They totally take the power of like,
yeah.
If you had not seen that thing, and if it hadn't been on the trailers 15 million times, like that would have been a moment in a movie that you'd get to experience, and that would have made that movie stick with you longer. But I don't know. Pixar's, I don't know. They're having some issues, I think.
Yeah.
All the way to the top. They're having some issues.
You're so funny.
All right.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah, when Leica, we love Leica. Their stuff's
That's
good.
true. We watched a lot of that here.
Yeah,
they
we do.
Kubo and the Two Strings and
Coraline,
Paranorman.
Yeah, Box Trolls you can avoid.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's not very good.
Okay. Well, I guess that's enough, huh?
That is enough.
Okay.
That is our 24 frames a second animation episode.
I did want to say thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
I
me.
appreciate it. And next week, if all goes to plan, it should be me and Margot from Book versus Movie and Best Neighbor podcast. We're going to talk about some true crime movies. It's going to be awesome. And I wanted to mention that you can find us at the dorkingoutshow.com, and you can follow us on the Twitter at dorkingoutshow. And if you really like us, you should go and review us on iTunes, because for some reason iTunes really cares about that shit.
You should watch the Paprika and Your Name and then tell us what you think.
That would be great.
Tell us what you think.
That's what we want to know.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping that we've directed you to some really good movies here.
Yeah. It's so funny. I know we're closing up, but
Yeah.
that's always the way it is with old movies, new beer, is that it's some weirdo, rando film we're talking about from like 38 or something. And then it's like, you really want to see it? And like, I don't know. You can't just go to a theater and see this stuff. You have to seek it out.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
These two are definitely worth it. So have at it. Thank
Yes.
you again, David.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm just going to say goodbye.
Okay. Do you want to say anything about Smith, though? Like, yeah, so long, sucker. Or like, oh, I don't miss him. Or at least I listened to you. Or at least, don't you want to say any little jab at the end? Because he's listening. This is it. This is his moment. Smith, we miss you.